And some of the questions, I want to start with you because we took a photo of Who's Seducing Who, that incredible painting. And I wanted to ask you both, how did you first meet James? I mean, what was your first impression of him?
Well, you met James first, so why don't you tell us first how you met him, and then I'll tell you what my first memory of him.
I don't remember the exact meeting, actually. The first time we worked together on anything, I had printed a shirt for Jim Nelson at Nelson Leather Company. And this lady from the state capitol came by and saw the image, and she wanted that artist and that screen printer. And Max was the guy that did the design. He didn't want to do it. He just didn't want to do it at all. So she was in despair. I said, "Oh, I know a guy that's equally as good." And so I got in touch with James, and he was willing to do it. So he did the first design for the first shirt that I printed for the state capitol. And she drove him crazy for a while because she kept adding things to the design that represented Arkansas. And then finally, toward the end, she said, "Well, can you put one more thing in there? Can you put a squirrel in there?" And I'm not sure how a squirrel fit into representing Arkansas necessarily, but he said, "Sure, I can do that for $200 more." And she said, "That design looks really good, just like it is." So he knew how to make things come to an end when they needed to.
Right, and so that was the beginning of your friendship with James.
Don't we have a picture of that?
That was the beginning of the working friendship with him. Yeah, like I said, in Eureka, it's hard to know when you meet somebody or when you met them. You just know them for years and years.
Osmosis.
And it's like you feel like you always knew them.
Right. So. Exactly. And then, what was your first impression of James?
Oh, I just loved him. I mean, I think you invited him to the house, and I can't remember whether it was just before we got married or just after we got married, but it was you and James and somebody else, but I can't remember who else was there, just James. I remember James. And he came to see my work, and he saw the work in the house, and we went to the studio, and he wanted to go down into the basement and see my old paintings, and he was just lovely. He was very encouraging and very humble.
And we're back. Okay. Wait. Okay. All right. So, did you show at any of James's galleries?
Yes, at Juxtone Gallery, which it was a beautiful gallery, and I think he mortgaged his house to start that gallery, and somehow the money disappeared. We all know about that little story, and sort of brought the gallery down.
Well, 9/11 didn't help.
No.
Right.
But the gallery did well for a while, and there were some really good artists in there. And James would paint there every day. So I used to go and visit and watch him paint.
I love that. One of the reasons I know that I want to talk about, there's this respect between you two as artists. Mm-hmm. And so you guys traded paintings. I mean, we took a photo of Who's Seducing Who. Mm-hmm. And how did that come about?
I don't remember exactly. I think it was James' idea. I didn't feel like worthy of one of his paintings. That I was really happy to trade, and it's one of my prized possessions, our prized possessions.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he was a very generous artist. I mean, he traveled all over the country, and he was over at 100 galleries, but he'd always take other artists' work with him.
He was wonderful, and he helped me do my first prints. I guess Bob, and he did my first Giclée prints, and they took care of all. They paid for it.
So, what was the art scene like back then?
Up and down.
I mean the camaraderie of
the art scene back then. I don't even know what it's like now. I don't hear anything about it. But a lot of those people are gone. But it was a vibrant art scene. I mean, we did have an art guild and meetings and shows. And
today, a lot of people of James's generation, there were no computers at the time.
No.
And he thought they could help document and preserve elder and disabled artists before they're forgotten. So that's what this project's about. I think that it's important, that what in the Art of Being that Kai Robert did, mm-hmm. that it really preserved so many stories, and that gives more dimension to the art that is left behind.
I'm not sure what artists are doing today. I know that my granddaughter does a lot of things on a tablet, but she also can do them by hand as well. So she paints also, but it just amazes me what she can produce on a tablet.
Right. And, this is a story that, you brought up, Calvin, is Picasso. Is that Picasso, there's a story, I'll let Calvin tell what he knows, and this becomes a tall tale that we'll try to patch it all together. But James had a mentor that was Arthur Bowles, who was at the Chicago Art Institute. And then he ended up in Missouri. I think James took some classes at the Joplin Community College or something. Arthur was there, and he lived in a Frank Lloyd Wright house. And he was a little tiny man that lived in this little Frank Lloyd Wright house. And one day, James said he learned more from Arthur just tending his roses than he would have all the classes in the world, because Arthur's telling him the intrigue, the business, this and that. And he found out that Arthur was doing Picasso's etchings. And so he had sent Picasso some of James's work, and he got a letter back, and James said, I can't read that. And he said, it says, he's saying that if I only did portraits, there would be no Picasso. And in your travels, he was offered a chance to spend time with him. Is that the story?
Does he? Do you still have the letter?
No. No, I don't know. All the traveling, all the chaos, all the 60s, all the 70s.
What a shame that you don't have that.
Well, that's part of my Nancy Drew thing.
Maybe you'll find it.
You never know.
And maybe it's in paper, in a box of paper somewhere in your house.
You know how that goes.
I don't even know what I have in this house anymore. I've been here so long. I don't know what's in here.
Well, and that's for me. Like I said, I'm discovering like everybody else. James Yale, the artist. So traveling with him, what was that like?
Well, it was a lot of fun. We had some good times.
I mean, you went all.
We didn't make any money. I mean, the whole idea was we're going to. He came up with, of course, a lot of fishing designs, some of which I printed on T-shirts, some of his paintings. Then we came up with a combination of graphic drawings of his and mine on shirts, and then just some goofy stuff. And I had a Ford cargo van. When we left, between his paintings, prints, and all the T-shirts and other garments that we printed on, it filled the van all the way from the front to the back. And we came back with most of it. What we learned was you don't go to fishing shows to sell T-shirts. They're not there looking for that. If they'd have brought their wives with them, we'd have done okay. But we ended up in Seattle, Washington. The shirt we sold the most said something like, when all else fails, use dynamite. And we sold enough of those to buy enough gas to get back home.
Yeah.
And we got home, and when James got out of the car to go in his house, he said, well, okay, the next one's on me. I said, Jim, there's not going to be a next one.
It was about 6 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're going about 6 weeks.
Well, how was his health during that time?
It was up and down. Just, it was one day at a time. You didn't know the next day how good he was going to feel or how not good he was going to feel. So we had a wheelchair, crutches, and a cane. And sometimes he didn't need any of it. Sometimes he needed one or the other.
Right. I mean, that's what I saw too. I mean, the year before he left the planet, he finished the deck. It's like you never could count him out.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I wanted to ask you all too, speaking of fishing, you said that he came over one day with a print for you of Victoria's.
I should have brought it in, but it fell down in the mat.
School of fly fishing.
Yeah, he gave it to me. There was something going on here. It was a dinner. It might have been. It was in the fall. It might have been my birthday dinner or something. I don't know, or maybe it was yours. But anyway, he came over for dinner, and he brought that print and a cold, and I got it.
Well,
the print and the cold.
Yeah, yeah, it's a gift that kept giving.
Yeah, but I still have the
Well,
print.
we did do one thing on that trip that he was doing a pen and ink of a lady fly fishing. And so when one of us manned the booth and the other one just walked around because it was getting a little boring doing what we were doing there, we took turns working on that piece. It was mostly stippling. And I think at the time it was Ernie Kilman's girlfriend who was the model for it. And I think Jim gave that drawing to Ernie at one time. I'd like to get a copy of it back because it's something he and I both worked on together.
That is,
So,
see, that's that. Now you've joined the Nancy Drew crew.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you should ask Ernie because we'd like to photograph it.
I'm sure they would have it.
Well, even if I don't get the original, I don't care about that. I'd like to have a good copy of
Well,
it.
that's for us. It helps build his catalog.
Yeah.
And there's thousands and thousands. I mean, from just pastels alone from all the times in the 60s and 70s doing the art shows. I mean, people may have a pastel that's been handed down in their family and they don't even know it's one of James's things. And, you know, I don't really look at social media that much, but you always get these things where people talking about a family relative. He did a pastel of them and how it's treasured. And I'm hoping one day, you know, even the simplest things like that, you know, can be rediscovered.
Yes, I just got a text a couple of weeks ago from one of my cousins in Philadelphia that they were in a thrift shop and they found an old portrait that my mother had done when she was young, when we were all little kids, in a thrift shop. So,
well, see, that's just it. You know, when as an event producer my whole life, you know, I've never been there to entertain you, or to be part of the entertainment. So we're doing our sleuthing, but we're sending that invitation out into the world. I mean, there's a lot of paintings in Europe. There's a lot of paintings all over the country. So, you know, like you're just saying about that one piece, that's something that adds to the mystery, which is kind of exciting. Before I wanted to ask about Kara, your daughter, because she's one of his muses. She's in one of my favorite paintings.
I love that painting.
I love that painting.
Elise has that, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. You know, I remember when he was telling me, I ran into him after I'd gone through all the rigmarole with city council and, you know, to get the artery going, which is kind of like gotcha TV. And I'd called Chris Bradley, you know, about this idea. I'd been looking at that retaining wall that's 170 feet. And I said, Chris, you know, I'm thinking about doing these 4x8 panels and you know, that would go, you know, run a living mural that, you know, we could invite other artists to do. And I want to call it the Artery. And he says, this is crazy. I'm reading the Washington Post about this artist in DC that paints on these 4x8 cement panels. And so when they tear a building down, the art's not lost. And I thought, well, whether the city council greenlights it or not, this just got, you know, the synchronicity is incredible. And so I went walking through to tell, you know, Chris Bradley that, you know, it's a go, we're going to do a thing. And that's where James was. I saw his crutches first, and he started telling me about his idea of the Master's Apprentice preservation. And I said, golly, mister, would you like to be an artist? And the big dummy said, yes. And, you know, thank God that painting never went outside. But the theme was water. And Kara, you know, I want to talk to Kara because it is so beautiful. And
she's a great model. I've done her a lot.
If you go to the website, it's on the Rediscovered Art New page. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Did she talk about that?
She didn't talk about it much. I have a photograph of it somewhere that James gave me. And that it's out in my studio in the map drawer, I think. But she just did it. She's posed for myself and for some other artists in town as well.
Yeah, she just has a classic beauty.
One of my favorite portraits that I did of her is in my bedroom, if you want to see it later.
I do.
But I did one of her that I loved, and it was not for sale. Irene Douglas sold it out from under me. She borrowed it as an example because this woman wanted to see my work, but she wanted me to do portraits of her kids. So she brought it down there and sold it to her. I was so mad at her.
Yeah. I look forward to, you know, having a conversation with Kara next. So.
Yeah.
And then you had to do a print of that because the painting was sold, thank God, because it should never have even thought about going outside. So one last thing, I mean, what words describe James Yale? How would you describe him?
Unique is one. I mean, I never met anyone else quite like James. Just with the things he overcame to make the art that he made. Yeah. Stubborn.
Yeah, stubborn. Yeah. I mean, all those travels with him. I mean, he was self-taught.
He had a great sense of humor.
I think, you know, nature was his
Mm-hmm.
teacher.
You can really see that in that painting.
He was he's the most versatile artist I've ever known. I had a little house on Armstrong and Douglas downtown. I was talking about remodeling it one time, and he did the drawings for the facade on all three sides. One side was built on the side of the hill, and turned it into a 2-story building. I've got the drawing somewhere. He did the floor plan and everything. So he was an accomplished architect.
Well, he passed his architecture exam in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew up in this little tiny town that there's no art that was taught in school growing up. And so all he could do is take drafting classes.
Where did he grow up?
Jasper, Missouri.
I didn't know that.
You know, so drafting and engineering became his thing, but that's why he did a lot of architectural renderings. And so that's what your drawing would be really great to add to, because I want to have an architecture department.
I have to find it.
Page on it, because he was also really good friends with Faye Jones.
Mm.
And that's where I'd really like to have been a dragonfly on the pond to hear those two men talking about art and war and life and all of that. That bust of Faye is at the Faye Jones Architecture School of Architecture.
I can't remember where, but I saw some of his architectural drawings, and I don't remember what it was for. But we were at his house, and he showed them to us.
Yeah. And
they were really intricate and beautiful.
They're intricate and beautiful, and you know, the last year of his life, he really couldn't do his painting anymore because he, you know, I take photos of clouds, just like, you know, just I want to smell paint again in the house, and he would just kind of shine me on. But mostly, he was trying to fix up the house before he left, and there's just all these architectural drawings of how to fix this and fix that, and so if you find that, that would be really great to add to.
Don't we have a drawing or one of those designs for the T-shirt for the state somewhere around here?
Of what?
The design he did for the T-shirt for the state capitol. Isn't that?
I've got a copy of it at the shop that I saw recently. He did a couple of different designs for them. One of them, I think, was the first process print I ever did on a T-shirt. One of the process prints I did is of the cat. Have you got a copy of the catfish? It's kind of, the whole image is kind of dark.
The oil painting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I mean, I've seen.
We put that on a T-shirt. It was the easiest process print I ever did. It just worked real well, and that doesn't happen.
Right. Well, you're welcome. Welcome to the Nancy Drew crew, because those things we'd like to add to.
Well, there was one other little story that he did. There was a guy downtown who started a little barbecue place. He called it Big Daddy's. So Jim did a drawing of Big Daddy with this big sombrero kind of hat, and the guy couldn't pay him, so he traded him a pickup truck for it. And so Jim got the truck, and this guy got the art. And the guy came to me to get T-shirts done, and he gave me the art to do the T-shirts, and I did the T-shirts, and he never paid me, so I kept the art.
Well, more for us.
And I've got that. I know where all his stuff, the extra stuff that you're looking for, is in a box, and I know exactly what the box looks like. And I think it's in another building I've got.
Well, I'm not through with you.
Yeah.
So that's,
I'll find those things.
Oh, I'll be there. Well, I appreciate both of you doing this today. I really do. It's so nice to be in your house and spend time with you.